6 young girls, in fact, I should say 6 young women, dead and gone forever. They were not sick. They were not caught up in some war. They were not victims of some natural disaster. They simply went to the El-Wak Sports Stadium, chasing their dream of serving their country. Then they never came back. They're among thousands who had gathered for a military recruitment exercise and then collapsed and died in a stampede that could have been easily avoided, many have said. We've all seen the videos, the endless human lives, the pushing, the chaos, the heat, and the confusion. And this is not the first time something of this sort is happening when it comes to recruitment into the Ghana Armed Forces or the security services for that matter. Do we value lives in this country at all? Or it is just a free flow for anything goes without accountability? And will this really mean anything apart from government saying, well, the families of those who have perished are now allowed to bring one person to be recruited? How does that replace the lives of those we've lost? But most importantly, what are the lessons we've learned, if any, and do we learn any lessons at all? Right after these messages.
Hey, Ruben. Every 2 seconds notification. The Momo keeps on coming. It keeps on coming, eh?
Ma, I am the community Momo man now. People send money, and with the Momo app, every payment is done. My transactions are flying.
Hey, Aden.
Ma, you didn't know, eh?
Over 2 million Ghana cedis is up for grabs in the Stillman Saka promo. Transact more than 100 Ghana cedis with your Momo app, and you could win daily, weekly, and monthly cash prizes, and 100,000 Ghana cedis grand prize. And it's not just payments and money transfers. Bank to wallet transactions, savings, loans, investments, pensions, POS transactions, and Momo transactions from other partner platforms qualify. This promo runs in collaboration with the NLA on the Caritas Lottery platform. Terms and conditions apply.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Temania Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Center Point Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
At Star Oil, we believe fuel is not just a commodity, it is a lifeline. Every cedi saved at the pump is a cedi that helps a mother send her child to school, a farmer transports food to the market, or a young entrepreneur deliver their first order. Our mission is to make fuel more accessible by offering consistently competitive prices, helping ease the financial on Ghanaian households. In a country where transportation costs can consume nearly a third of household income, this is not just business. It's a social responsibility. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
For many years, we've been solving Ghana's water storage problems with quality tanks. Syntex tank. You know, it is strong, it's tough, and reliable. And now, we are in to solve the #1 problem when it comes to water carriage: our pipes. With the state-of-the-art machinery, Syntex is providing very strong, tough, reliable, high quality, and durable pipes at a reasonable price.
This is Syntex Pipes. With Syntex Pipes, water flows. Wow!
I mean, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. If they carry water, no wahala.
With Syntex Pipe, our water problems are solved.
Syntex, are you strong? Are you tough?
Brushing gets more fun with your kids with the new Pepsodent Kids toothpaste. Give your smiles protection that lasts. Grab yours today from a store near you. This advert is FDA approved.
This year is going to be sweet. I don't just feel it, I know it, because the Luckiest Season 3 is back.
And I'm about to show you how to grab your golden ticket. Just dial *712# and follow the prompts to purchase your ticket. Or go to theluckiestafrica.com, hit community tickets, and pick your lucky number.
Or let the system do its magic. Choose how much you want to spend from 1 to 5,000 Ghana cedis. You can even buy a ticket for someone else. Be someone's hero. Payment? Easy. Mobile money in Ghana or card if you're international.
One ticket can turn 1 CD into 500 times more. That's maths we love. Or your community could win 10 times more. So let's get lucky together because luck is everywhere.
Every mosquito study run away.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to Ghana Connect. Let's get right into the conversation. It's a big one. There's also the budget in the mix. We'll get some commentary on that. But the lives of 6 people, with several others injured and on admission, some of them in ICU, according to the Ghana Armed Forces, has really shaken all of us. Fosu Mensah Stephen came all the way from Techiman for the recruitment process. He's connecting with us on phone. Techi Mensah will connect with us pretty shortly. Nana Kakari is a Ghanaian journalist. She's based in the US. Nana, it's good to have you connect with us as always.
Great to join you this evening, Kwaku. Thank you.
And then Ernesto Yeboah is with the Economic Fighters League. Ernesto, it's good to have you join us.
Yeah, Kwaku. Good to have you too.
And then pretty shortly, we'll also be joined by Julius Anthony, and then Carla Olympia also will join us on this conversation. So let me start with you, Ernesto. I mean, what did you make of it that 6 people went out there to look for a job and then they didn't get one? But let me introduce Carla Olympia. Carla, it's good to have you connect with us.
Quickly, it's a pleasure as always.
Great. So, Ernesto, let me start with you. What did you make of that? 6 people went out there, young people, young lives, went out there in a bid to serve their nation, then through no fault of theirs, but the disorganization of the process, and 6 young life extinguished, snuffed off, just like that.
Kwaku, it's a sad evening, and so permit me to say sad evening to all of us, and also to your cherished listeners. I think that we must all be ashamed as a country for what has happened, because, I mean, were we waiting for lives to be lost before coming to see that these processes were in themselves a danger to all those involved, including the military personnel, themselves. It's such a shame that we couldn't behave like China by just looking elsewhere for the best and copying and simply replicating it in our system. In our space. And so for me, it's a collective shame for all of us. But of course, the greatest goes to the state for allowing such a thing to happen. Can you imagine your son, your daughter, your friend, your sister, a sibling, a family member going to, such an exercise because they have applied and they were hoping to serve their nation, only to hear in the news that they have lost their lives. And sadly, and I think that the media takes the blame here too, how is it that more than 24 hours after this tragedy, we are still talking about, 6 individuals that have lost their lives without the specific mention of their names? I think that it's important, if there are any lessons to be learned, it begins with humanizing the victims. They have names, they have families, they belong to certain communities. And so by now we should know who they are and be referring to them by their names, not as statistics, not as people or certain people or young people. When we do that, we lose the opportunity to learn from the situation. And so I think that all of us have to see this as an opportunity to be better and to promise ourselves that this should never happen again.
Olympia, let me hear from you on this very tragic incident. And in fact, I agree with the points Ernesto makes about naming these people, because these are not the statistics. These were lives. These were people's sisters, daughters, and they were friends. They had a full life ahead of them. They had dreams, and all of that extinguished at the goal.
Did you ask me to come in now?
Yes, Carla.
Yeah, no, it is exceptionally tragic, heartbreaking, and worst of all, unnecessary. As far as I know, there are other nations in which they actually use the security forces for crowd control. And in this case, the security forces created a situation, with all due respect to them, created a situation which no doubt you could have foreseen the high possibility of this happening. And I don't know if it was an MP, a lady MP, stand up in Parliament and talk about how it was Allah's will. And how often in Ghana do we talk as if extreme negligence and recklessness is the will of God? It is not the will of God. It is not the will of God. And there's so many layers of heartbreak and tragedy that speak to some of the challenges of our nation. The level of chaos, the level of disorganization, the level of desperation, the level of unemployment. Do all these young people really want to work in the security forces? Is it because there's no other options? The kind of insensitivity of the process. Does it have to be once a year? There's so many questions that I just cannot understand, and I know many Ghanaians also cannot understand. It just seems like such an inhumane process.
Interesting. Nanaka Kari, I wonder what you make of it. In the US and the likes, nobody congregates in places like this for body screening and all of that. It's a much simpler process. Our friends that I went to school with who've gone to the US and UK, who've enlisted in the armies over there, the process is way smoother. And it's almost like we are still stuck in the same old ways of doing things, really.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised based on the reactions that we're getting, especially from our elected officials. And you know what? It's been a tough week for all of us, especially when we have to relive what caused the military plane crash on August 5th, where we lost 8 of our heroes. And then now, just hours later, we are hit with another brick in the head, military related, by the way. And the facts are heartbreaking, Kwaku, to think that these 6 young women did not die on the battleground. They were crushed in pursuit to serve their country. And it's just devastating. And my condolences goes to the families and loved ones. Look, Kwaku, I have so much respect for the Ghana Armed Forces. It is known for their discipline and professionalism. However, it seemingly failed to implement basic security and safety protocols for these applicants or candidates. And they must take responsibility and accountability for this tragic incident. Their argument that the incident was triggered by the applicants breaching security protocols and then rushing into the gate ahead of the scheduled screening does not make any sense to me at all. This nationwide recruitment event always draws a large crowd. I understand that the deadline this year was extended by 1 week to accommodate more applicants. So to have one entry point, and not put in enough measures and resources to control the surge sounds ridiculous to me. And to top it off also, it's reported that despite that early crash, I understand the recruitment exercise commenced before it was later suspended. Well, to me, I hope that the investigation leads to prosecution. And maybe, that may be actually policy changes, not just recommendation. There has to be some changes. And you mentioned here in the United States, things are done a bit differently. That's correct. The U.S. military recruitment, which involves the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Marines, and I think the Coast Guard, is multi-stage, okay? So it's typically digital process. It begins with contacting a local recruiter. So an applicant who is interested in joining the United States military has to first contact a local or regional recruiter. And then they conduct that pre-screening. And then it is followed by a visit to the military entrance examination or processing station. But you know what? They are assigned time slots. So I did not understand why thousands will gather at the stadium just without time slot. What do you expect? Of course, when there's one entry opened, they're all going to rush in. Did you think that they were just going to stand there and wait? Because they do not know who is going at what point in time. So the GAF needs to take responsibility and accountability for this action. Like I mentioned before, the people who are responsible for making these these policies or that organize this event, and I'm talking about the executive level officials, needs to be prosecuted and face legal actions.
I mean, Ernesto, one of the things, and I would really want to hear Carla on this also, but Carla should hold it there for me. And it's one of the things about things of this nature is the lack of accountability. I mean, I just can't think of it. If this happened elsewhere, in the US, in the UK, or any of the advanced societies, sometimes not even far from us, you would see something. Of course, here we are mourning. The deputy minister is going to the families, promising them we'll get one person from your family to come in there. But really, all we've heard is some people have been asked to step aside. We don't know names. We don't know anything concrete in terms of accountability about what we are learning. It's almost to the point of frustration, exasperation. I don't know if you get the same sense. Now, things of this nature happen. It's touch and go, 2 weeks' time. In fact, a week or 3 days later, all of us have forgotten about it, and there's really no accountability, no learning until the next tragedy happen again.
Precisely, Kwaku. You've nailed it. Because it's strange that we and it's also the public. I don't feel the energy of the public in demanding for public or state accountability in this tragedy that has occurred. We all seem to be just mourning, oh, this is unfortunate, it shouldn't have happened, and then we will condemn Ghana Army and then the processes, and then that's it. It's as if nobody, is responsible for what has happened. It's like it was an act of God. Look, what that member of parliament said in the chamber, she was simply re-echoing the thoughts, the leadership thoughts of this country at all levels, from the Islamic spaces in the mosque to the churches, to our communities, to departments, agencies, to business setups, and business leaders and all of that. She was simply expressing an idea that is very common to leadership in all these spaces. Except that at that point when she was saying it was politically incorrect. And that's simply why her colleagues cringed. It is not that they disagree with her. In fact, the average Ghanaian in leadership subscribes to that kind of thinking. Don't you hear some of these? So it is also the currency we place on death. And so this is not the time to be hypocrites. This is the time to face the truth for what it is, and to face the mirror and tell ourselves that we are ugly, and therefore certain changes needs to take place. The very people who have to resign on morality, on conscience, are the very ones who are pretentiously leading exercises to assuage the people. We are angry, we are hurt. This is not the time for telling us, about new measures you are putting in place, or who you want to recruit, or to give a permanent place in the recruitment exercise. Lives have been lost. They are irreplaceable. And so one would have expected that something of the sort would have taken place where people on their own, those who are responsible know that, if I instructed that this should be done, this would not have happened. If I did this way, this couldn't have happened. But they are all there. The military itself, have we heard anything from them except from media sources taking indication that persons who were responsible for managing the process have been reassigned? Is that the attitude? And so it's like we are not ready to pick up the lessons, and we have to be frank and truthful with ourselves. In this conversation,
Carla, one of the things that I find really intriguing, apart from the accountability question, and I really would love you to touch on that. We've been recruiting for so long, and these days the numbers are up, and we can play hide and seek, but we know the reason why the numbers are up. There are so many young people who don't have jobs. I know people who say they want to go and serve in the military. It's not because that's what they've always wanted to, because they see as an avenue to get a job to go and do. But it's almost like there's no national learning. So if you drove past the venue that morning, or you saw videos of young men and women in white shirts and their shorts and trousers in their thousands, with some very process, somebody's going to look at them and look at the height and say, you are disqualified, qualified. So, what's going on with this process? And obviously, this is what is going to happen. Then we get here, then it's 2 days now, no real accountability. It's almost like, 6 lives, we are sorry, we are mourning with you, but then really, nothing.
Kwaku, that's the thing. And precisely as you said, and other people have indicated as well, there are many layers to this story. And for me, I think there's 3 overarching things, right? There's the level of desperation and unemployment, number one. There's a level of chaos and disorganization with which a lot of things in this country are done, unfortunately, which you would not expect of the armed forces. They are meant to be at the extreme end of discipline and organization, planning and strategy, right? And then the final thing is accountability. So, let me go back in the other. So let's start with the accountability question. Absolutely. I think I read something about some committee has been constituted to look into the matter. You have to look into the matter, but how complicated is this story? We can see what happened, right? I am a lawyer, but when it comes to the military, I know the military has their own disciplinary processes, but I absolutely do think that there has to be some level of accountability. And it goes back to that kind of fatalistic attitude I think the previous speaker was talking about. And he was saying it's in our leadership, but it's actually through all levels of our society. And it comes from the fact that when you live you're a product of your environment. When you live in an environment where things keep going wrong, people die on the roads, and it's like, there's poor health and safety, and everybody thinks, it just happens. No, it does not just happen. I remember, was it a few months back or a year ago, there was a fire disaster at Heathrow Airport, being one of the busiest Heathrow Airport, London, one of the busiest airports in the world, and it was shut down for like a day and a half. And it struck me listening to to speakers on the BBC over the next couple of days. They were talking about, was this not anticipated? What is the risk management? What have we learned from it? Did we not plan? Blah, 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 blah. And it will not happen again. And how they have these risk points and they have calculated, they have plan A, plan B, plan C. In Ghana, do we do that? The same disasters keep happening over and over and over again. Do we learn from them? We approach things chaotically in so many ways. And finally, the unemployment thing, that for me is truly, truly, truly heartbreaking. And it is a symptom of a wider problem. I know it is a multi-layered problem. I know government after government is trying to address it, but not enough is being done. I remember a company I worked at a few years recruiting for a receptionist, a front desk person. We got hundreds of applications. Some people with master's degrees, studying for PhDs. I remember the CEO looked at one young lady who had a master's and was like, "Do you want this job?" She said, "Yes. I finished university 3 years ago and I've been at home." And that's what's happening. People don't have jobs. People are desperate. They're practically trying to jump on ships to cross the sea. They're contemplating fake opportunities that are almost human trafficking to take. All kinds of things, and it's sad. It has to change.
Nana Kakari, I wonder what you make of that also.
You know what? Just to add, the Ghana Armed Forces seemingly are blaming their excuses that because these applicants were all rushing through that one entrance to before the scheduled screening time. That's what they're doing. So they're really telling us something that they're not. They're giving us a preliminary, landscape of what they're about to come out with when their so-called investigation is concluded, that it wasn't our fault, it was the applicant's fault, which is really, really bad, right? Because again, like I said, if you have thousands of applicants, which I don't think such a number of people should gather at the same place, whether a stadium, whether a huge place or not, there needs to be a schedule. They need to have time slot allocated to them. And there's also, remember, this is a nationwide recruitment system, right? So you have people from all over Ghana meeting and you blaming them that, this tragic incident kind of happened because of the actions of these applicants. They've told us what they think, and they're clearly telling us that they're really not at fault, which again, it's very, devastating to hear or to listen to them. Also, like I think one person said, they need to come out. They need to come out and talk to Ghanaians. Tell us be open and transparent about how the investigation is going and who is involved in the investigation. You cannot have these same people who are probably, responsible for this incident, investigating themselves. They need to set up that neutral body, group of people that will look into it, and not just look into it. They need to look into the operational system at the Ghana Armed Forces, and they also have to look at the recruitment process. We are in 2005. Why isn't things done digitally? Now, one may argue, this is like a fiscal thing. They need to see, who is applying, who they're recruiting, and we cannot do everything online. But you can do some things online to mitigate such, crowd, right? You do stuff online because they're filling out their height, their site, whatever is needed for you to pass that military recruitment process. And so when they finally meet, it's all about these physical things that you want to watch them do. So again, many things, there are systemic failures from ground zero. from the recruitment process to the whoever organized the event, to the military, whoever was supervising the event. Now, one may ask, the military are seen as, to protect us, to defend Ghanaians, yet they couldn't even defend these applicants. So are we safe putting Ghana as a whole in their hands? I doubt. And also my question to these applicants who stayed and wanted to continue with this application process, do you really want to work with such an institution that cannot really protect you in such a preliminary point of a recruitment process? I just don't know. The Ghana Armed Forces failed to do their job. The Ghana Armed Forces failed to protect Ghanaians. The Ghana Armed Forces failed to protect these young, unemployed Ghanaians who are seeking jobs. They were not stealing, or they were not conducting any criminal activities. They were simply coming in just so they can get a job, and to end up dying. It's just devastating. And so, real quick, a point on the parliamentary lady. Again, that was not the place in time for her to go that spiritual route. I understand where I think she was coming from as to, that spiritual aspect as it happened because God wanted it to happen. But it was the wrong place, the wrong time, and basically not the right time to say what she said. And she should be condemned for making that statement.
And honestly, but one of the things that this whole thing struck me with, and as part of broadening the conversation, if you see 25,000 people, 30,000, and this whole process, we don't have the full numbers from the military yet. But this is a process that is going to recruit 4,000 people into the military, and 50,000 people are applying to get a job. Of course, the state is even selling the thing to them at 200 Ghana cedis or so. And so if there are 40,000 applicants, you multiply that, and you look at the amount of money the state is getting. There's a big conversation about whether or not people should be paying to audition to enter public service and serve their country. But there's a bigger conversation about the unemployment situation. So there's so many people, many of whom may never have thought about working in the military, now queuing, and some of them losing their lives just to go and serve in the military and other some of these security agencies.
That's the stark reality, Kwaku. And it would also constitute the basis on which my organization, the Economic Fighters League, was set up. Because we realized that, look, in as much as our forefathers like Nkrumah and his colleagues fought for the political independence of our country, the whole idea was to secure economic independence. But then we felt that with that bit has eluded us. And so I remember very well that in our early days, we tried to bring together young people who were looking for jobs and had not been successful. I mean, personally, when I finished, my first degree at the university, I had to be at home for close to 8 years before I was able to obtain my first paid employment. All the things that I did between when I completed university to the time when I secured proper employment was walansa. And so many Ghanaians, many young people, have gone through that stage. And my generation would seem to be advising them, it will pass. We are a Nyamibeye republic. We don't apply science to and that's why people have a problem with what's that guy's name? Musa Dankwa. They think he's just predicting figures, or Boslimka. He just gets up and then he says things. We have to move from being overly a superstitious, unscientific society to one that places science at the center of our thinking. There was a period in a time of Europe when they decided that, look, let us move away from unscientific thinking and place things on empiricism, on science. It has to feature, it has to play in, and this can only come through policy. It can only come through planning. Look, when you go to our market spaces, somebody, has just three, pieces of tomato, and the price would mention to you, it doesn't make sense. Yet, that's what we have allowed ourselves. Our market men and women don't sell with scales. Science plays absolutely no role in our lives. As though, it's not surprising that you have a military that will take money from the unemployed and yet provide them with such a sham and incompetent reading process, and at the end of the day blame them. How do you even leave just one entrance when you know that it's even against the fire service code? In case of fire, in case of anything, everybody is to run through that one entry point. You see, and it is sad. I think that this may be an appropriate time for His Excellency President Mahama and the leadership of this country to call the Ghana Army to order. They have been over-pampered in this country for far too long. The military hierarchy should have their heads rolling all over the place by now, because it is completely unacceptable. It is completely unacceptable. We cannot continue like this. And Mr. Haruna Idrisu, as Education Minister, should point to a way forward. Where is science in the curriculum? Where do we want to be in the next? Yes, I know there is STEM and all of that, but I think that we all have to make that decision, that our society cannot run on superstition any longer. Close down radio and television stations that are almost all the time disturbing people with, superstitious beliefs. It was good we started with Agrada, but I still see, on our television stations and radio stations and all frequencies and all of that, we still hear and see these things going on. And pastors coming out from time to time with prophecies. The presidency tried something at that, but what they did not have was the political will. And how they tried to resolve it came across as ridiculous. But I think that we need to save this country from superstition, because it is at the heart of the incompetence and the mess that we are faced with. I'm not saying that one should not have a religious belief or subscribe to a space of worship. That's not what I'm saying. But to allow it to infiltrate and contaminate commonsensical things that should be commonsensical to us is simply what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
And I hope that it's the persons responsible, will hear this in good faith, and begin to apply it. We need to see reforms in almost every aspect of our lives. If this thing is not to repeat itself, if this tragedy is not to repeat itself, never again.
Yeah, and I like what Alassane Suhiri wrote over the time this thing happened and the comments that were made in Parliament. You trust God, but you tie your camel. So you take the decisions that are humanly possible. You do your best. But if you cram so many people in one place with one exit, the least scuffle, you are looking at a stampede because of the numbers involved and all of that. Carla, I want to take your brief views also on this unemployment conundrum that is so big that, and today the Interior Minister did a news conference announcing modalities for recruitment into police, fire service, the immigration service, all the interior security services. We're going to see similar numbers. And of course, the minister, learning from what has happened this week, they put out modalities. We're going to see so many people who are going to be out there trying to enter the police. And sometimes I even think one of the reasons why we have the kind of policing and the kind of security we have is that there are people that have no passion for the job. They are just there because they think it can pay the bill. And so whatever confusion and whatever knowledge they do not have, they just unleash it on the people out there as security services.
Greg, I don't even know what the question is here, because is the question that do we need more employment? I mean, yeah. Do we need more well-paid employment, fulfilling employment? Absolutely. And, sometimes, I don't want to say I'm hopeless, not hopeless, but it does, I look at the enormity of the problem. And then you look at how some of our state agencies are run. And I'm sad to say that this incident is even reflective of something of the military, right? Because, like I said, they are supposed to be the most extremely disciplined organization in this country. Sometimes in Ghana, we associate being disciplined with being hard. People are suffering, making people suffer. But being disciplined means you're strategic, you plan, you do the things that need to be done, you are effective, you are efficient. A lot of our state agencies, etc., are not efficient. You go there, there's unnecessary chaos. And I know the question you asked was about employment, but it impacts on our ability to improve the economic circumstances of our people. When our state agencies are run in such a way that sometimes it seems like they're going around and around like headless chickens, and we also know that sometimes we deal with you go to the person at the top. Let's say you know a minister. Let's say you know the CEO. Let's say, then suddenly things work. But down at the bottom, very few of them run efficiently. And these are the same state agencies that the government is trying to use to improve our economic circumstances. So it is, it is something that has to work from the leadership. They have to emphasize efficiency. They have to emphasize productivity. They have to emphasize integrity. They have to emphasize diligence, strategy. They have to have plans for outcomes, and they have to make sure those outcomes happen. And sometimes there's too many people that are trying to go into politics, they're trying to go into leadership, and they're thinking about how they can benefit. But there are so many young people desperate to see results. And, what are the results we're giving them? Sometimes it is shocking because a private sector organization could not get away with the things that some of our more public services, they could not. So why do our public agencies get away with it? And, and then the basic speaker was speaking about spirituality, but which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Are people spiritual and fatalistic because they feel hopeless and they feel that, you cannot affect the world around you? Or is it the religion that does it? I think a large part of it is because the message they are given every time they go out into the world, every time they're on the dangerous roads, every time they come across state agencies that, send them up and down, then it's like, okay, then we leave it all to God. I think if things were run better, people would still be religious, but they would also feel that there's a lot of human agency. You can change things. Right now, the message sometimes coming from above is that you can't change anything. Just accept it and give it to God.
Nana Kakari, what do you think should happen going forward with some of these things? Hopefully we get to learn the lessons, we do the right things. But what should happen when it comes to these things, around how we plan around human lives? Hello, Nana Kakari? Hello, Nana?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So in his 2026 budget, Finance Minister Tufosin did mention that the government's goal is to build Ghana that produces more than it consumes and creates, guess what, decent jobs for its citizens. So that is good. We're looking forward to it. We will also be monitoring, the recruitment process for the Ghana Police and Fire Service that begins Monday, November 17th, to see. I think this will be a great opportunity for the government to show that they are actually learning from what just happened in this on Wednesday's recruitment process. And we hope that, they implement the changes that needs to be put in place. Again, making sure that they have the safety and security measures put in place to protect these applicants. So you know what? Hopefully, the incident that happened on Wednesday will not happen again. And I think that this is an opportunity. Just days after, we'll be looking at the Ghana Police Service, the recruitment that's kicking off on Monday, to see if something is being changed or if the government has really learned its lessons from the incident. So, hopefully, I don't know what to say because it's just a sad event, but the high unemployment rate needs to come down. Thankfully, Mr. Tufolson said that is the government's main goal. So we will look into that. And then also, of course, the safety measures from these strong institutions will probably help to mitigate such incidents from happening in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nanaka Karina. I like that you segued into the budget there. Thank you very much for joining us for this conversation. Ernesto Boss, always thank you very much. Carlo Olympio, really interesting getting to know your thoughts on this matter. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a big conversation. And of course, Newsfile is happening tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 12. It's part of the conversation. It's part of the issues that are being discussed tomorrow. You don't have to miss Newsfile. Big conversations on the Chief Justice approval by Parliament, the budget, and all of these issues. I really hope we've learned our lessons because, really, 6 people. I just can't imagine the pain that the families of these young ladies that went out there to look for work, to look for a job, but just didn't come back home, will be feeling after this very, very, very tragic situation. My name is Kwaku Asante. I'll see you again same time next week on Ghana Connect. Andy Dusty is up next with the library.